This is especially for you if you're from a red list country. With the simple strategy I will share in this video, you can relocate to the UK as a nurse with no more than £2,500 equivalent in your home country. And this is including pocket money for miscellaneous. I know how difficult it is now to get a job in the UK as a nurse. In fact, if you're from a red list country, it's even probably 10 times more difficult for you. But what if I told you that for a fact, a lot of overseas nurses are still coming into the UK, including those from so-called red list countries? One of my guys came in recently and he is settling in fine. There is one singular thing employers are looking for right now from overseas nurses, especially if you're from one of those red list countries where active recruitment has stopped. It is pretty straightforward, guys, but you're going to need some cash before you commence.
No way!
Hey, hold on. It doesn't have to be as expensive as you think if you follow my advice here.
Okay.
If you have not already started your UK NMC registration process, then please ensure you consider what I'm about to share before you even start the process. This is going to save you the pain of having to see your English exam or CBT expire just like that, simply because you kept applying for jobs and you only got rejections. This pathway is very simple. It is self-sponsorship. Of course, the pathway is not new, but my approach in this video is to share ways to reduce cost for you. Essentially, you have to sponsor yourself to the UK and take the NMC OSCE exam and eventually get your PIN. You can organize this whole process from the comfort of your home just by making a few phone calls that I will talk about and filling some forms. The thing is, once you are on ground in the UK and with your NMC PIN, you are 100% guaranteed to get your nursing job in the UK. So if you consider how certain this process is to guarantee success in your relocation journey, then I would even advise borrowing from a friend or a relative who is willing to help, and then you pay them back. Please make sure you pay back. Now here are my 5 easy steps to follow to guarantee your fast relocation to the UK as a nurse.
Yes.
So stick around to the end of the video. Please make sure you have passed your English test and CBT, because that is not covered in the £2,500. Most people will start by telling you to book your OSCE exam first, but not me. Your number one priority should be to cut costs. What I want you to do is to speak to any of your friend or relative you know in the UK about your situation. Ask them if they are willing to accommodate you for the period of your stay in the UK. You have no idea how much money you will be saving by making this first move. Now, this friend or relative of yours should also be willing to send you necessary documents during your visa application. Things like copies of their bank statements and pay slips up to 6 months, copies of passport and BRP, proof of accommodation in the UK, and letter of invitation. You can get a template for this letter online. Now, they need to state in the letter that they know you and also mention what they are willing to sponsor, which basically would be things like accommodation for the period you will be in the UK and your feeding. It's just for them to put that in the letter. You can have a personal agreement with this your friend that, don't worry, I will take care of myself when I come. Now, there is nothing illegal about any of this, so put your mind at rest. In fact, there is a visitor visa specifically designed for nurses and doctors who are coming in to take their practical exams. By doing this first thing, you rule out the need to prove your own financial capacity, because if you are to fund your stay in the UK for the period you'll be staying to prepare and do your OSCE, it is a lot of money, trust me on that. And if you don't already have a lot of cash in your bank account, then just talk to a friend who can help. Your friend or relative does not have to give you any physical cash. They are only taking responsibility for where you will stay when you get here, and that they can provide feeding for you. I hope that makes sense. If this person is unwilling to share their bank statements or pay slips with you, then that's fine. In that case, they can simply state that they are only accommodating you for the period you'll be staying in the UK, but you have to sort your own feeding out. If they do this, you would need to have some money in your account to show that you can take care of yourself for the period of your stay. But I just don't know which friend will let you stay with them but not give you food. I don't know. Anyways, moving on. If you don't have anyone at all, then you probably need to do this step as a second step. I recommend booking an Airbnb where you can cook your own meals, and these are not as expensive as hotels. You will then need to attach the booking confirmation when you apply for your visa. Next, now you can book your OSCE exam. This will cost you £794. Remember, have £2,500 to spend. Booking your OSCE is very easy. Just go online and book with any of the 5 approved OSCE centers, depending on which one has your preferred date. But of course, All Star Center has been the people's choice for a long time. I wouldn't say more than that. If you know, you know.
Be smart.
Book All Star, my friend. Meanwhile, when booking a date for your OSCE, please give some allowance for your visa application. I suggest that you book 3 months in advance, just in case there's a delay with your visa approval. In any case, you can change your OSCE date at no cost if it gets to that. The third step is to apply for UK standard visitor visa. This is a straightforward online process as long as you have all your documents in place. You will need your passport, proof of sustenance if you don't have any friends like we discussed in step 1. So you need to prove that you have the financial capacity to take care of yourself, including things like accommodation and how much you'll be spending on a daily basis. You also need your decision letter from the NMC and your OSCE booking confirmation. Then of course, add all the other documents your sponsor, who is your friend or your relative, is providing. And again, this is for those who have friends or relatives who can support them. Now, I am not including the budget for accommodation into the 2,500 because I'm trying to cut cost for you. So please look for somebody. You don't need any confirmation of flight booking for UK visitor visa, so don't book any flight yet at this point. During your visa application, I would advise that you don't indicate that you are staying for a very long time, because the longer you put on your visa application, the more proof of fund you will need, especially if you are sponsoring everything by yourself. And make sure it tallies with whatever your friend is going to state in their letter if a friend is sponsoring you. It really doesn't matter how many weeks you put. Just know that when your visa is approved, you'll be given 6 months. At the time of making this video, standard visitor visa is £115. Now next, while you wait for your visa, you can start preparing for your OSCE exam using the materials that NMC would have given you when you booked your OSCE. Depending on your learning ability, I also recommend registering with a good OSCE trainer here in the UK so that they can start training you as soon as possible. Most of them offer online training, so you might not need to have landed in the UK to start practicing. You can also prepare using YouTube tutorials. But if you want a physical, hands-on training, then you may be looking at paying between £500 to £900 for a full private training. But of course, this training is optional, so I would not add it to the budget. In any case, we have a lot of OSCE trainers who are also internationally educated nurses. I would advise you to speak to your friend if they have anyone like that around the city you'll be staying who can help at a more affordable price. Please prepare well for this exam, but don't do it with fear. God forbid, but if you do fail any of the OSCE stations, then you are looking at an additional £397 for you to have a receipt. So let's factor that into your budget. You have really done well to have stayed till this point. So let's say your visa has been approved for 6 months. It's time to book your flight for the specific length of time you'll be staying in the UK. Please factor in the weeks you would need to prepare for the OSCE exam, and most importantly, the time you would need to make job applications after your OSCE. And of course, your PIN won't come out immediately after your OSCE. It might take a few weeks, so please factor that in when you book your flight. I am saying all of this because you need to book return flight at this point. If you book a very short period, then you may be looking at changing your flight date later, which is very expensive to do. Please, if it's your first time traveling abroad, save yourself some stress and use direct flight. It is definitely more expensive but more convenient. But if you want to save more on flight, which is what I advise, then use connecting flights. But just make sure not to go through a country that requires transit visa, because that's another headache on its own. You don't want that. Now, using connecting flight will fit perfectly in our budget. Look for the cheapest possible flight and book that. Winter months are usually the cheapest times to travel, so think of a time between December and mid-March. I can already see some cheap flights for February from Nigeria, for example. This is just over £700 for a return trip, and it's even cheaper if you book it from Abuja. I'm just saying for those who are from Nigeria. Moving on. I can now say congratulations at this point. Finally, you have passed your OSCE, and this is where I want to put some emphasis on your job applications. You should spend time making at least 5 quality job applications on a daily basis the moment you pass your OSCE. And trust me, 5 is actually too small, but make sure they are quality applications. I can tell you for sure that you will get jobs once you've passed your OSCE, and you will be the one to reject some of the jobs, not the other way around. I have made videos dedicated to job application and interviews for nurses, and I'll put the link in the description below so you can check them out. Remember to pay your NMC registration fee of £153 if you have not done so at this point, and this will avoid any delays in your PIN. Finally, once you pass your job interview and receive your offer and sponsorship, you have to then go back to your country and use the certificate of sponsorship from your employer to apply for your work visa. Unfortunately, you cannot change your visitor visa to work visa while you are in the UK, but I don't see this as a problem as long as you achieve your aim, which is to come to the UK. Now, if you add all these fees discussed, including return flight, plus or minus accommodation and feeding, you'll have a rough idea of how much you need for the entire process. But if you follow the budget like I described it, all things being equal, you should have some extra cash for miscellaneous. So yes, congratulations once again, you are now a UK licensed nurse. If you found this video helpful, please click the like button and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this one. Bye.